Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second quarter 2020 wrap-up, part 2, News, Trends, and Stories with Dr. Joseph Farrell. This is Catherine Austin Fitz. We had a great discussion last week about economy and financial markets, geopolitics. It's all, now that health science is the new way to create police powers, everything is integrating. And so today we're going to be talking about culture, we're going to be talking about food and health, space, and the unanswered questions. So, Joseph, welcome back to the Solari Report.
Thanks for having me back.
Well, you warned us that the whole war was going to be cultural, and you were right.
It's certainly looking that way. It really is.
How many people every week come back and tell you that you were right?
Not many.
Really?
Not many. No.
Well, it took me about a year of you trying to explain and teach me. It took me a while to figure it out. So it took a while. But,
Well, it does for most people, because most people don't understand what I mean by owning the culture. But it's as simple as whatever institutions or cultural traditions interest you, dig into them and start making them or integrating them in your life. Because we're heading into a dark age. We really are. And it's almost like the Middle Ages. We're going to have to be little monks trying to, in our scriptoria, and preserve things. Because everything's under assault. I mean, if they can go after Aunt Jemima and statues of Christ, they can go after Mozart and Rembrandt, and and we don't want to lose those.
Right.
Because if we lose those, we've lost everything.
Okay, so let me dive in. Story number 11 is celebrating the best of the second quarter culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it was remarkable. One of the things I saw as the museums and the arts were threatened is people realizing exactly what you're saying. If I don't support and protect this, we're going to lose it.
Yep.
And, we started, it was your inspiration. We started Food for the Soul at the Solari Report. Nina Hine writes a column twice a month, and she's just a museum hound. And this quarter we started a podcast because we couldn't, we were scheduled to see the Raphael exhibit in Italy. Nina was scheduled to be in Chicago, San Francisco, London, and it all had to stop. I say now my travel credits are a forced savings plan. But we started to do the podcast and do what we could do online. So, but there were a lot of, there were a lot of great things to celebrate. So why don't you start?
Well, I think the biggest thing that this whole culture thing has done is, can you imagine the rioters going after the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art? To stop and think about that.
Not unless they want to die. I know at least a couple thousand New Yorkers I've known in my life who would take out their guns and kill them. Right.
Yeah. And that's literally what's at stake. And I make no bones about it. That is literally what is at stake. I've said before, the politically correct crowd went after the libretto of Mozart's opera Idomeneo because he played, that character is a Moor, a black man. So the politically correct crowd has actually changed the libretto to make it politically acceptable. And to me, this is, again, an attack on history, because that opera was written about a century after the big Turkish attack on Vienna. So in other words, it's fresh in Mozart's mind that this was a real threat of a vastly different culture trying to take over, the rump state of Austria.
Right.
And had that gone, had it gone the Turkish way, had the Polish king Jan Sobieski not come to the rescue, Europe would be a vastly different place today.
Absolutely.
And if you can imagine 100 years prior to Mozart's time, that would have been in the age of Handel, Bach, Scarlatti, Rembrandt, everything that we associate with our high culture, that wouldn't have been there. It would have gone.
Right.
So, we better get a clue that this is what we're fighting for. It literally is what we're fighting for. All the things that have made this culture transcendent and beautiful.
Right.
It's not perfect, but we've got to get it. This is the other thing that I think people don't understand. You don't need a perfect culture. You simply need to recognize the goodness in it. Everybody has their skeletons. Abraham Lincoln, was one of the most racist people there ever was. So does that mean we're going to tear down the Lincoln Memorial because of the results of his policies that were good?